Barry here with Cruising Authority. Before you hear this wonderful interview with the late Gavin MacLeod in his most recognized role as Captain Stubing on the Love Boat, I must tell you about the Cruise Club, where members are getting the best cruise rates, finding the best cruise deals and perks, and gaining access to cruises, discounts, and services exclusive to club members. Visit cruiseclub.com and find expert cruise advice, discounts and savings, more choices, convenience, no booking fees, and our expert cruise travel professionals are nice people. Visit cruiseclub.com the next time you're ready to plan your next cruise.
Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Welcome aboard. If you love cruising, if you love the romance, if you love the sea, then come across the gangway and enjoy our discussions about cruise ships, cruise lines, and even ocean liners of the past. Your host for Cruising Authority is former entertainer and cruise director Barry Vodrin. So sit back and relax. And now, enjoy the show.
After watching the Love Boat TV show, millions of viewers would dream of one day crossing the gangway onto the Pacific Princess and having their own romance or adventure at sea. Those who booked their cruise boarded the ship expecting an experience similar to the TV show were not entirely disappointed as they enjoyed the reality of all a cruise vacation has to offer. Cruise vacationers seeking love on the high seas may or may not have found what they were looking for, but one thing is certain: millions were introduced to the romance, the adventure, the exciting ports, the fine dining, and relaxation of an ocean voyage. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to bring to you a special guest on our show whose face on our televisions in the 70s and 80s brought laughter into our homes on a TV show called The Love Boat. His lovable character as Captain Stubing charmed TV audiences on a show that had a significant impact on the early years of the cruise industry. From myself and all of our listeners worldwide, Mr. Gavin MacLeod, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Barry. It's nice to be with you today.
I understand the first season of The Love Boat has been released by Paramount Studios and is now available on DVD. Have you picked up your copy of the DVD set yet?
As a matter of fact, I have, yes. I did a lot of press the week it was coming out. So I do have 2 copies, and someday I'll sit down. And it's very interesting. There's been so many years that have gone by that now you look at what we used to look like in those first years. It's almost dangerous to open it and to see what the change that's taken place in all of us. But yeah, it's making a lot of people happy. I'm getting calls from a lot of people who are buying them as gifts for the family members. You know, it's one of those few shows today, because of what's happened with television. You can sit down with your entire family and watch and have a good time and not be embarrassed. And so I'm very proud that we had that show for almost 10 years.
While you were filming the Love Boat TV show in the early years, did you ever imagine the cruise industry would become such a popular vacation option?
Well, not really, because when we first did it, it was just a job. You know, none of us knew anything about cruising, didn't know anything about. When I went to shoot on our first cruise ship on Princess, I think it was the Pacific, I didn't know there was an elevator on the ship. I mean, we were so unindoctrinated, but slowly we became an instantaneous hit. All the critics predicted we would sink like the Titanic. They thought we were mindless television, but Aaron Spelling felt the audience would really pick up on us. And they really did. And it was the first show dealing with cruising. The formula was 3 different kinds of shows, one a flamboyant comedy, one a sophisticated comedy, and one a poignant story. Because of the poignant story is the reason I really took the series, because I felt it was a lot different than Love American Style, which was on just prior to our show. And so anyway, no, we had no idea. We didn't even think about the cruising industry. But I knew that something was happening because the second season we were on, other television shows were starting to talk about cruising. They were talking about it. So it was spreading and spreading and spreading and growing. And I knew that we really were home free for a while.
It's really amazing how a little TV show like The Love Boat could have such a pivotal role in the popularity and growth of an entire vacation industry. In the early days of the cruise industry, people watched The Love Boat and wanted to have their own Love Boat drama or experience on a cruise vacation. How do you think the Love Boat TV series has impacted the cruise industry?
Well, I think it wasn't much of an industry before we went on. You can talk about anyone who is involved in the history of the cruise industry or is informed about it. And before we went on, cruising was basically for the affluent, and we made it possible for everybody to cruise. Princess Cruises, with their new logo, Escape Completely, really works, because every time I take a cruise, it really is escaping completely from what's going on. And I think it just seems to me that, let's say, the more negative the world becomes, the more people really desire to get on a ship and really escape completely and get away from the pressures of life. And I think that's one of the things that cruising, why we did our show, it went through the roof. And so Fred Silverman, who was with at ABC at that time, left and went with NBC. He said, well, I think let's try to do one on a train. So they did a thing called the Super Train. And at that time, it cost $2 million, which was the most any pilot in the history of television had ever cost. Well, that didn't make it. And then ABC went and did one in the air, in an airplane. There's something about a boat, there's something about being on the water that really, really works.
You're not kidding. I mean, there's a romance to the sea, that's for sure.
There's no doubt about it, you know. And, the water is very important. You know, 3/4 of our body is water, and 3/4 of the world is water. And I just think it's the greatest way to relax and to get away from the pressures of if you have a choice. I'm so proud that what has happened in the evolution of the cruise industry with Princess, that I've been involved with as a spokesperson for 21 years now. When we went off the air in 1986, we had 2 small ships. And now we have 17 mega ships, and we have another one, the Ruby Princess, coming out this coming November. So people are really cruising. People have grown to know the value of it. It's used in so many different ways. I know you've talked to me about some of the things that you do, which is a wonderful thing of blessing people in other ports and other countries with food and clothes and shoes and toys and things that people do need there. So there are many, many reasons for taking cruises. And one, as you have indicated, is blessing others.
To give you a taste for how the Love Boat has made an impact on our society, whenever I mention that I used to work on the cruise ships as a cruise director, many people still say to me, oh, you were Julie McCoy. Or when I first went to work on the cruise ships, my college friends would tell me to say hello to Captain Stubing. Mm-hmm. Those characters on the Love Boat, like Julie, Isaac, Gopher, the Doc, Captain Stubing, and of course his daughter Vicky, have truly become icons within the cruise industry. As an actor, do you feel you've been typecast as Captain Stubing, and how has this affected your acting career?
Well, it has affected my career. There's no doubt about it. That people just, they may not know my name, but wherever I go, they call me Captain. And some people call me Murray from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. But many, many call me Captain, and it's a very nice thing to be called. It's a good identification to have. You know, that uniform, you could put that uniform on anybody, and he would just denote authority. It's a wonderful kind of thing that happens. But as far as let me just tell you one thing that happened on a ship about people believing who we were. There was one woman that came on a ship many, many years ago looking for Captain Stubing. Well, of course, the guy wasn't there. there. And she said, well, that's why I took the cruise. And they said, well, he's only an actor. But I wanted to see him. Well, he's only an actor. Well, she said, well, what they did was she got off at the next port, and they gave her her money back, and then she got home, and that was it. But a lot of people really believed that we were the real captain and doctor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It has affected my career. Number one, I have an identity as a captain, but as time goes on, there are new people coming into the business all the time, and many of them are younger, and many of them don't know the history, say, of people like myself or Bernie Capel, who have been around a long, long time, since 1957 on the West Coast, and have got a history of work of the diversified characters, but they don't know all that. They just know that you were, in my case, that I was Murray Slaughter, and then we were the Captain Stubing, and so they sort of see you like that. So every once in a while, you'll get a breakthrough and someone will see you, allow me to do someone on a different kind of a character, and that's very nice. So, number one, it was. I'm so grateful to God that I chose to play the captain, because I had made that pilot twice before with different people, and neither one had sold. And so we did ours, and ours sold, went through the roof, and created an industry. So I'm very grateful for that. So the little side things of being identified as the captain and maybe not getting other kinds of things, when I see the material that's being done on television today and the offers that I've had to do, I can't even do it. Television has become a different kind of communication, and the choices of what's on television, I think, are not too inspirational for people. And so I'm very happy, I'm very grateful that I was able to be used during those particular years the way I've been used.
While filming The Love Boat on location at sea, did you also have opportunities to enjoy the cruise?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you, I've had opportunities while filming and even after filming of meeting some of the most incredible people. I had 7 days with James Michener. You know, he wrote South Pacific and all these incredible books. He and his wife had 7 days with Tony Bennett, and that was great. And you know, he was doing paintings and sketches on our top deck, and eventually we got to New York, and we bought one of the ones that we saw him doing on our ship. Jack Jones, who sang the theme of The Love Boat for so many years, he's been on ships. And I had a 7-day trip with Audrey Hepburn. So, yeah, I've had great opportunities to enjoy cruising, and I wouldn't trade them for anything.
I must tell you about the Cruise Club, where members are getting the best cruise rates, finding the best cruise deals and perks, and gaining access to cruises, discounts, and services exclusive to club members. Visit cruiseclub.com and find expert cruise advice, discounts and savings, more choices, convenience, no booking fees, and our expert cruise travel professionals are nice people. Visit cruiseclub.com the next time you're ready to plan your next cruise.
The Love Boat was often filmed on other vessels besides the Pacific Princess. Did you have a favorite ship?
Yeah, it was the Pacific and the Island. Those two ships are the ones we shot the show on. They were 620 passengers each. And here's something you might find interesting. The ship became an icon. A few years ago, Princess sold that ship to an Italian company. So they sent me to New York because the final voyage as a Princess owned ship was going to be from New York to someplace in Italy. And so they were going to do a lot of press in New York, so I went back there. It was amazing to see all the people that wanted to be on that ship. Number one, the press were all around there. Two couples I remember distinctly. One wanted to be on that ship, and they were taking the cruise. They were all you couldn't get a room. As small as the rooms were, because you know during all those years, sizes of ships just increased phenomenally. And so the early ships, they're kind of, you had to go past each other without touching each other to get to a window or something. It was just very small in those early days. But these people wanted to go back in these small ships. One couple was because they were on their honeymoon on that ship many, many years ago. Another couple, they conceived their first child on that ship, and they just wanted to be a part of nautical history. And I was able, when we took it out of the slip in New York City, I was able to really, for the first time ever, to take the ship out of the slip. Of course, I had a captain on one side and an assistant on the other side, but the press was going like crazy, and I had a great time with the people. I finally got off on a tiny little boat. We were going, and the ship was going, and everybody down past the bridge in Manhattan, and everyone came over to this one side, and they were all waving at me, and I was waving at them, and I was really tearing up because it was like saying goodbye to the past, goodbye to one of the most wonderful adventures any actor could ever have, to be involved in a ship like that.
Well, now, you also filmed on ships like, I thought you filmed on a ship called the Stella Solaris, and...
Oh, that was very rare. I mean, we went to Greece, so we did film on that ship. That ship only had room for there were only 100 people on that ship. You're right, I forgot about that. Shelley Winters was on that, and Ernie Borgnine, but that was a delightful cruise, yeah. We did the Greek islands there. We did some of Venice on that particular ship. And then there was another ship, too, now that you mentioned it. We took the Royal Viking to Russia.
Yes.
At that time. And then when we went to China, I forget the name of the ship.
Well, there was another one called the Victoria, I think.
But I remember going to China was another one. Another one, it had been a ferry boat, and then they had split it in two and enlarged it, and... I forget.
Well, there was also the Royal Princess.
Well, I guess we did more than I remembered. It was a great time.
Yeah, well, the Love Boat certainly was a fun show to watch, especially when you took the excursions on different ships. As a spokesperson for Princess Cruises, can you share with our listeners a favorite shipboard experience unrelated to filming the Love Boat?
One wonderful experience that we have frequently is when my wife and I go on a ship. We will do the play Love Letters on the ship. And we'll have to do it a couple of times. People want to see it more than once. So that's a wonderful experience. And then we had last year, when we named the Emerald Princess in the port of Piraeus in Athens, Greece, my boss called me and said, we're going to name the ship on Mother's Day. So we were thinking about trying to get two American television icon moms. Do you think you know anybody? I said, well, what about Marianne Ross and Florence Henderson? They thought that was a good idea, and so we got them. And they were able to name the new ship, the Emerald Princess, in the port of Piraeus. Consequently, Florence had to go back to shoot something, but we were with Marianne and her husband for the entire cruise, and we finally wound up in Venice and had a magnificent time there, and then we came home, and that was a very, very special thing, especially since the last Love Boat we ever shot in the regular series, I married Marianne Ross. Marianne Ross and I got married. Mm-hmm. So here we are, many, many years later, with our respective partners. And, well, after that, Marianne and I were friends since 1957 when I came to California. We did a show together, a Walter Winchell file for Lucy and Desi, and then we went on to do Operation Petticoat with Cary Grant and Tony Curtis. And then there was a whole period there. She eventually became Mrs. C on Happy Days, and I became the captain, and they asked if I would be interested in having a romance, one person, and I said, sure. And so I suggested Marianne, and so they went crazy for that idea, and she did it. And so we had a couple of years that together, and then we got married on the last Love Boat that we shot during the regular season, and then we went on the road with the play. And here, years later, just last year, Mother's Day, we were over in Greece together. So that was a wonderful experience that was not related to really shooting too much.
Well, what are some of your duties as a spokesperson for Princess Cruises?
Well, I do a lot of interviews, like I'm talking to you, Barry. And then we have naming, when we name all the ships, I usually do the MC work there. I meet with travel agents throughout the year at various conventions in different parts of the country. In November, we name the new ship, the first part of November. The latter part of November, I do another travel agent show down in Fort Lauderdale. And then I come and I do the first part of December, a huge convention in Las Vegas. Things are. Then I do in-house movies for them. In fact, I'm doing another one on the 17th and 18th of this month, an entertainment one, a cooking kind of thing. But we've done through the years these movies or teaching things for all the employees on the ship. So they know they must smile that the customer is always right, and about cleanliness. And very, very teaching things that we've done in very kind of entertaining ways. A couple of weeks ago, I dedicated a huge rehearsal studio. You know, they have so many ships and they have so many new shows coming on the ships. So they built their own rehearsal studios, Princess has, up in Valencia where their headquarters are. And I was able to dedicate that huge rehearsal studio. It was just amazing. It was like Broadway, you know, up in Southern California. But I keep really very, very busy. I have time to do my other things, and we work around things together. So if there's a conflict, somehow it always works out. But it's one of the nicest jobs I've ever had. It's a wonderful line to represent, and the people I work with are just the cream. So I do things like that for them, and it's really, really an exciting kind of time.
Well, when you're not working as spokesperson for Princess Cruises, tell our listeners what else you've been doing the last few years. I'm
the honorary mayor of Pacific Palisades, and I have a lot of things I do here. It's a very busy community. If people aren't familiar, if they're familiar with Santa Monica, California, we're north of Santa Monica. And if you're going to live in this area, we have about the best air you can get because the ocean is right there. So I'm busy doing my mayoral duties. I have speaking engagements I do for them. We have a big installation dinner. I'm going to go in for another 2 years, and we have that coming up. I think it's the 12th to 13th. So I travel. We have a big parade on the 4th of July. As a matter of fact, I've got Marion Ross to be our Grand Marshal at the parade this year. I had my friend Pat Boone the year before, and I had Patty Page, my other friend, the year before that, and so I do that. I traveled some years ago when I was in your neck of the woods with Barry Manilow's Copacabana, and I traveled for Troop America from Minnesota, a wonderful play. We traveled all over the country. I've got my new movie coming out called The Secrets of Jonathan Sperry, and I'm so proud of that picture. Time Changer is out. I think you've seen that one. I've done the 70s show and with Mary Tyler Moore. I just did Oprah last week. So, you know, I keep pretty busy doing all that. I have 7 kids and 9 grandchildren, and one of my granddaughters just graduated up in Monterey from high school, and this afternoon we're going over for another grandchild who's graduating from here in Los Angeles from high school. She's going to UCLA. And so I just keep very, very busy with the family and with my church, and my wife and I have had a program on Trinity Broadcasting Network for over 20 years called Back on Course. The great thing about it is that we've been able on that program to bring people back together who have been broken up and for various reasons. We touched every subject known to man on that program, and I've got a very full kind of life.
Well, Gavin, as you look over your career, can you tell our listeners what 3 events in your life have made the biggest impact on you and are the most cherished memories or moments you can recall?
Well, I don't know. The first one, I don't know how cherished it is, but my father died when he was 38 years old, and I think that as far as impact goes, that had a major impact on my life. That's something you just never get over. And then I think probably the second thing was winning a scholarship to college. I came from a very uneducated family. It was during the Depression, and my mom had to leave work. She had a Catholic school background after the 7th grade to go to work. She left school to go to work, and my dad, he left school in the 5th grade to go to work. So obviously they were not schooled with some of the finer things of life, and here I came along. I wanted to be an actor, so they didn't quite know what to do with me. But consequently, I pursued that, and I won a scholarship to Ithaca College, upstate New York in Ithaca, and I think that was a very significant time to me because all of a sudden the world opened up. Being married is important, but being born again was the most significant thing that's ever happened to my life. I've given my life to Jesus Christ, and I've become an ambassador for His. That's changed everything completely, and know that He is always there. And then One day I was praying and I heard the Lord say to me, your search is over. I'm your real father. You and Patty, I'm going to put my arms around you and walk you through life. And nothing has ever been the same since. My wife has just come through an 8-month period of depression and anxiety, a major attack from what we call the enemy, and she is just coming out of it right now. So God is good, and God is always there for us. We have to be there for him.
Amen. Gavin, are you still in touch with some of your acting colleagues from the Love Boat days?
Well, once in a while we'll get together. Like our 30th anniversary was some months ago. We went to do Good Morning America, so I was able to be with Ted. He was Isaac the bartender, and Julie McCoy, and the girl Vicky that played my daughter. And Bernie wasn't able to make it. He had another gig. Bernie is the doctor, and Fred has got a program in Washington, D.C. now. He played Gopher. But on occasion, we do get together, for different things. Life just moves on, and we all go in different directions. And, yeah, I'm very close to most everybody, especially Bernie and I.
The Pacific Princess from the Love Boat days was a beautiful little ship of only 20,000 tons. With the cruise ships today getting larger and larger, what would be your preference, a big ship or a smaller ship?
Well, I really like the smaller ships. I don't even have to think about that. I really like the smaller ships. But if I was the president of the corporation, I would prefer the larger ones. I just like the intimacy of the small ones. I like the longer cruises. I like getting to know the people. I don't know. It's just more intimate. I like that. And the Tahiti cruise was just magnificent because it was on a small ship again. But, if I was in the cruise business as I am in a little small way, I would prefer the big ones coming out only because it would bring in more revenue. And because of the big ones, we can still afford to have the two small ones.
Well, Gavin, thank you for being on our show. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your morning.
Well, it's my treat, Barry. I don't chance to talk to someone from Minnesota, one of my favorite places.
You've been listening to Cruising Authority at cruisetalkshow.com, and I'm your host, Barry Vaudrin. Until next time, I want to wish you smooth seas.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? This is Captain Stubing speaking. Please report to your cruise director, Barry Vaudrin, on the Lido deck each week at cruisetalkshow.com.